Okay, where to begin? I suppose it's been over a year since I last made a video documenting my mental health journey. And it's been a year. I don't need to go through what the last years meant, as I feel like we've all collectively felt a sense of, existential dread. But I'm sure newfound anxiety and depression. And I'm definitely no different. I did actually write something this time. Normally I just fly by the seat of my pants, and I wanted to actually document a little bit and talk about some stuff that had been on my mind for quite some time. First and foremost, I would like to emphasize one thing. I am where I am because of my access to counseling and meds. I am where I am because of my access to counseling and meds. That's it. So when I last left off, I was going off of Effexor. That was a fucking trip. I should have a censor warning for this one. I really did not anticipate it taking me 7 months to go off of my Effexor. And so I didn't anticipate being in the middle of winter when I was fully off of antidepressants for the first time in 14, 15 years. I don't recommend this. And so I was heading towards a bad place. And then in March, I decided to go back on medication and chose Wellbutrin. And this was perfectly timed for the first lockdown. So I packed up and went to my parents' place so that I could have a safe place to acclimatize to the medication. It did take me quite a while to acclimatize. I was in quite a bit of a daze for those first 2 weeks of lockdown when we still thought it was only going to be 2 weeks. So I'm very fortunate that I had a place to really stabilize my mind and my body, because I was put through quite a lot. I spent most of my days in bed. I cried a lot. I could go a couple weeks at a time without stepping outside. And it was pretty foggy. And yeah, my body didn't regulate well to the medication. I was constantly dizzy and would have bouts of intense dizziness, and I didn't have any appetite, which was hard for me because I love food, and it altered my taste buds. So there were a few things that didn't taste the same. One of them was alcohol, and I had almost an allergic reaction to it. So I stopped drinking, and overall was very unhappy. So I started seeing a new therapist who I absolutely love. She helped me in ways that I hadn't really had access to before. I think it was because I really, really trust her, and that trust was found immediately. Again, I'm fortunate that I have a quiet place where I can take a Zoom call for an hour-long therapy session, and that really helped me and got me to a more stable place and really built a foundation for my mental health. And I decided to go off of the Wellbutrin in the summer. It wasn't serving me well, and I felt stable. And so I saw a psychiatrist who was useless and actually more of a traumatic experience for me. I know that, I understand that not all psychiatrists are going to have that effect, but this one did. So I actually ended up speaking with my family doctor, and we agreed to have a plan in place so that I would pay more attention to my signs of anxiety and depression coming on, and acknowledge it earlier so that I could go on medication and adjust to the medication before I was in meltdown territory. This is the opposite of what I've normally done in the past. In the past, I've pushed everything aside and tried to stamp down the feelings of depression and stamp down the feelings of anxiety and really push it off. This first started when I would have pretty serious bouts of depression in the winter alongside seasonal affective disorder. So I pushed it out and pushed it out and pushed it out. And so every spring, I would actually have a pretty big meltdown instead. So instead of doing that, now that I was off my medication, my doctor and I made an agreement. And so the past fall, I felt my depression looming. I had, I've lived with my depression for a very long time. So I am acutely aware now, if I listen to my body, what's going on, and the symptoms were there. I couldn't get off the couch in the evenings. I had trouble cleaning up after myself. My daily routines were falling by the wayside. I couldn't muster the energy to function. No matter how much I wanted to, it wasn't there, and it was very frustrating, and there was a lot of self-loathing and labeling myself as lazy, which I realized is a big trigger word for me because it's the biggest symptom of my depression and of my anxiety. And I'm just so debilitated that I want to do things, but I don't have the energy or like the motivation to really to clean up after myself, to go outside, to be active, and I hate myself for it, and I look at myself as someone who's very lazy, even though I want to be the exact opposite. So instead of labeling myself as a lazy person, I've recoined it or categorized it as depression, because that's what it is. So I went on to a new medication, which I am currently on. It's called Cipralex, and I found a dosage that was right for me, and I feel good, which is weird to say. I feel better. I feel stronger, and this has been a combination of a lot of therapy and figuring out what has me stuck, how I'm bringing myself down, and also just developing better routines that I don't chastise myself for if I'm slacking in them, but I also know that they're there to help me, and I am able to go outside more often. I am able to keep up sleep hygiene, which is a new term for me, but it's something that I've always done. Listening to meditative music at night, turning off my phone early, having a really great skincare routine in the evening just really relaxes me, and reading has always been my happy place. So sometimes those don't work, but powering through and being able to do those always sort of puts me at ease, which is something that someone who has anxiety and depression really needs to feel in the evenings. It's very important. And I drink a lot of tea. Sorry. this one's peppermint today. Yeah, I have a lot of gratitude and to be sitting here today. And I was very nervous to come on and talk about this, and talk about my journey honestly and openly, and also share with people what I've been going through, when I know, especially right now, people are going through a lot worse than I am. And there's so much going on right now. But I also know that it doesn't invalidate my experiences and my life. So I'm really starting to take that to heart and be kind to myself, which is something that I have tried to remind myself every day. And it is not easy. It is not easy to be kind to yourself when your whole life you've beaten yourself up for who you are, for, this common thread of being weak and lazy, have followed you along, and you've sort of built your identity up around that. I'm still working through it, and I know that I have some other inner work to do, and that it'll be constant, but I am very grateful for the work I've done, and I'm proud of myself for the work that I've done. I feel strong. And in part of that strength, I'm trying to be vulnerable, which in these videos is easy, but in every other aspect of my life, I am not good at being vulnerable. I put walls up around me pretty firmly, and it's kept me safe, but it hasn't served me well, and it no longer serves me well, and acknowledging that has been very powerful. Yeah, did I mention I love my therapist? I love you if you're listening to this ever. Thank you. I have a lot of emotions coursing through the surface right now, and I'm trying to lean into them, but also trying to stay composed, which isn't possible. But I hope you can feel it, and I hope that you know that you are loved, you are worthy, you are enough, and I love you.